So we've looked at the fact that there are three different types of average: the mean, the median, and the mode. What we want to look at now is which one should we choose? Which one should we use at any one point in time? What are the advantages and disadvantages of each of them? So this table shows advantages and disadvantages of each of the three methods of working out an average. So the mean, the advantage is that all of the data is used to find the answer. You're adding up all of the data points and you're dividing them by the number of the data points. So that's quite an important advantage, all the data being used. The key disadvantage with the mean is that very large or very small numbers in the data set can distort the result. So if you have 10 numbers that are between 30 and 40, and then you have another 2 numbers that are over 100, that will change the average that you get by using the mean quite a lot. So there's a very clear advantage and a very clear disadvantage of using the mean. So look at the median. First main advantage is that very big and very small values don't affect it. So we had that as a disadvantage for using the mean. If we use the median, we're only looking at the middle grouping of those numbers, then very big and very small values don't actually impact on that. The usual disadvantage we talk about with the median is that it takes a long time to calculate if you've got a large set of data. But even this isn't strictly true anymore, given that we will usually be using some form of computer to work out the median for us. And so that calculation will be done very, very quickly. So it is a disadvantage because quite often you will be using calculation by hand, but in these days it's not a big disadvantage for us. So finally then, for the mode or the modal class, the advantage of this is that it's the only average we can use when the data isn't numerical. So for example, if you've got categorical data like eye colour or favourite pet, then you can only really use the modal value as the average because you can't average out eye colour. The disadvantage, as we've seen, is that there may be actually more than one mode depending upon your data set. And also, if all of the data is the same, every single number is the mode, so effectively there isn't a mode. And in that way it might not give a really true picture of the data, particularly when you're dealing with categorical data. Saying the modal eye colour is brown doesn't really tell you about all the other different eye colours, for example. So it's important to be able to remember these advantages and disadvantages of the different types of average, because you will be asked in some questions to state why you're using that particular average, or what would be the best average to use and why would you use it. So make sure you can memorize at least part of this table and then be able to use that information in a common sense way for deciding which is the best measure of average to use. Let's have a look, for example, why might it not be sensible to use the mode for this particular set of data? Well, if we look at that, the modal value is 2. But is 2 really representative of that set of data? It doesn't tell you the fact that there are 2 15s, or actually most of the data is over 10. So in fact 15 is the second most common value, and that's more representative. It's also the median. The mean, if we were to work it out, is 11.2, and that's really caused by the fact that we have 3 2s in this value, and as we said, lots of low values can distort the calculation of the mean. So that's a good data set to look at when trying to work out why you might use different versions of the average. Let's have a look at another set of data. Why might you not want to use the mean for this set of data? Well, let's calculate it and see what we get. We add up the numbers, and then there are 5 of them, so we divide by 5. So we get 115 divided by 5 gives us the mean of 23. So we've used all the data points, but because it's used all the data points, it's been distorted by the value of 6 in there. All of the other pieces of data are greater than or equal to 25. So an average of saying the average is 23 is a bit, doesn't really represent the data. If instead we were to use the median, put them in order and find the middle value, that's 27, this is much more representative of that set of data, and that's because the value of 6 doesn't have any effect on it. It only puts it in a particular place in order there. So if the 6 wasn't there, the median would be 27.5. So the value of 6 doesn't affect the median very much at all, whereas it does have quite a big impact on the mean. Remember, if you're asked to justify why using a particular type of average, it's common sense answers that people are looking for. Keep your answers simple, using the kind of arguments we've used through this video, and don't worry that you've not come up with anything that you think is startlingly new. Most of the questions you'll be faced with are looking for something very simple and straightforward. So don't concern yourself with trying to come up with an amazing new mathematical theory. This is all common sense and simple stuff.